Okay, so for my survey, I decided to use SurveyMonkey because I have had experience taking surveys on it before and it just seemed to work really well and it seemed easy to figure out. So I decided to go with that tool. So my first step was creating my 7 questions, and so my theme is learning to spell for kindergarten. And so I tried to create a survey that kindergartners can take, kind of to give the teacher feedback on how well they are developed in their spelling. So my questions were: what is your current knowledge of spelling? How often do you use your knowledge of letter sounds to determine the spelling of an unknown word? Do you know all of your letter sounds? Do you feel that spelling is important to learn how to read and write? Does sounding out unknown words help me figure out the correct spelling? Do you know how to spell your name? Do you know how to spell high frequency or sight words? And so then here is my survey. I would walk you through it, but I already took it, so I'm not able to take it again. So the first question is, what's your current knowledge of spelling? And so students were able to rank their scale on 1 to 100, and so you can see that there's 2 responses. So the average number was about 81%. So the 2 responders, their knowledge of spelling was about 81% on a scale of 100. How often do you use your knowledge of letter sounds to determine the spelling of an unknown word? So the average was about 51% for the 2 responders. And so they use their knowledge of letters and sounds about 50% of the time. Do you know your letter sounds? So 100% of the responders said yes. So that's a good start and good determiner that students know those letter sounds. I feel that spelling is important to learn how to read and write. Their average number was about 95 out of 100. Do you sound out unknown words to help you figure out the correct spelling? So 50% of the responders said yes, and 50% of the responders said a little. I know how to spell my name. 100% of the responders said yes. I know how to spell the high frequency or sight words. 50% 50% said yes, and 50% said some of them. And so out of the 2 responders, one of them said they knew all of them, and one of them said they knew some of them. And so the teacher can then look through these results and kind of get a better sense of their classrooms. And you could also see, that's the question summaries. You could also look at data trends that is provided. So it can kind of give you when this data was collected. That has to do with questions that they were on a scale. And then you could also look at individual responses. So you could compare one student to another. So one student said, what's your current knowledge of spelling, which is at 73, but then another one, this first responder, said that their current knowledge was 89. So then that gave you an average of the class, but you could also use this tool to maybe look at each individual responder and their responses to get a better feel of maybe who needs more help and who doesn't. And that is how I did my survey, and I found it very helpful to utilize in the classroom when wanting to collect data.